Okay.
Good. Okay, so for our next non-throwing project, I'm going to teach you how to make these really simple platters. And really the main part of this project is to teach you how to use the slab roller. But instead of just showing you, you're going to make these really fun platters. So we have these molds here, and you can see they come in all different sizes. There's small ones, oval ones. I'm going to go with this one. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab one of these, and then you're going to head over to the slab roller. Okay, so to make this project super simple, we're just going to use brand new clay right out of the bag. You can either use the white clay or the dark clay. It's totally up to you. The reason that we're doing this is, honestly, so it's easy. We don't have to wedge it up. So you're going to take the clay out of the bag. I'm going to put it on top of the bag just so it's not as messy. And you want to cut it the long way here. Don't just cut a slab off like the top so it's a small square. We want a long rectangle. And this part's kind of tricky, but I would say about an inch. You're going to take your wire tool, and what's tricky about it is trying to get it so it's somewhat even. It's okay if it's not totally even, but then you're going to take that slab over to the slab roller. And actually, you can just set this down here and then come over here to the big cabinet. In the big cabinet, we have pieces of canvas. So you're gonna grab a piece of canvas. You wanna make sure that it doesn't have like crusty, dry clay on it. And then you're gonna head back to the slab roller. So let's just talk about the slab roller setup. On the slab roller, you have two canvases, and you want to make sure those canvases are lined up. Like you don't want them all mixed up. So make sure it's all lined up. And then here, let's get a close up here. The slab roller, you can change the thickness of your slab. So for these, we're going to do 3/8. But if you were doing your own project or doing another one, you know, you can move these dials right here to move the thickness. And there is the thickness here, and then also on this other side. Okay? So if you do happen to change it, make sure you change it back to 3/8. But just know that's how you do it, because you'll be using this technique throughout the school year, so it's really important that you know how to do that. So you're going to just kind of feed these two canvases in so they come out just like an inch here. And then the first canvas, we need to move these right there. The first canvas you flip over. Now this canvas that you got from the big cabinet is really so you can just easily move your canvas once you're done, or move your slab once you're done. So I'm going to lay this down and I'm going to try to get out all the wrinkles. This is a tricky part because if you put it through the slab roller and there's a wrinkle, then it's going to kind of like cut your clay, and then you'll have to start over. So if that happens to you and it kind of cuts your clay, just go ahead and put that clay in with the throwing, like where the clay is for the throwers, and just cut a new slab of clay. Okay, so let me explain this part. Most of the molds are kind of long like this. If they're long, we'll see if this works. If they're long, you want to put your slab of clay in like this, because then it's going to stretch it out and make it longer. Okay? But if it's wide, like this is a wide one, then you want to put your slab in like this. Okay? And again, you're going to mess up, and then you're going to figure out how to fix it. I mean, it's all this takes practice. So just expect that. So I'm going to do the long one. We'll see if this works. When you put your thing of clay down, you might want to just take your fist and just pound it a little bit so that it easily slips into that roller. So you're going to do that. You're going to flip this canvas over. Again, make sure it's all lined up. If it's not lined up, it'll get caught in these rollers. And then to start it, you have to pull this from this side, and then you start rolling like so. and then you come out with your slab. Now you can see right here, I have a crease. That means on the other side of this, it's kind of cut the clay. You guys see that? And you can't use that part. So what I'm gonna do, hopefully, is when I get to my table, which we'll go over to the table now. So you just take your canvas like this and come over to your table. Go ahead and pause it. Okay, so like I said over there, I had a crease, and so I need to get rid of this part of this clay. So I'm just gonna take a knife, just cut that part off. You don't want any creases that will make your pot or make your platter really weak. And then in the big cabinet, we have all these fun things to play with to create texture. So I'm just gonna show you a few. These are rollers, and you can just take it, you could roll it any way you want. And it adds a really cool texture. We have these doilies, which there's rolling pin in the big cabinet that you could roll over this and it would create that texture. You can take a tool and make some textures. You could do some drawing. It's totally up to you. We also have these letter press, type press letters that you could do wording or just make patterns. Up to you. One more tool I want to show you. I can find it quick. We have a couple of these little guys, which are super fun. They're made out of wood, and you can take these and roll it to make different patterns too. So this is kind of a modge podge of patterns, but hopefully you get the idea. So once you get your patterns done, you're going to very carefully, and you have your mold really close by you, you can carefully take this off. I'm just going to kind of hold it. I'm going to move my mold, maybe. Can you put that up? Yeah. Okay. Onto your canvas. And then the textured side, you're going to put down on the mold. And what we're going to do is we're going to drop this a little bit on the mold, like so. And then, Maris, and then you're going to just take it and kind of drop it on the table a few times until this clay goes around the edges. And I'm going to say, I told you when you cut the clay off the block of clay to do about 1 inch. I would do a little bit more than 1 inch because as you can see, this went down all the way here, but all the way here it could have gone down a little bit more. I'm going to actually try to drop it one more time and see if I can get that to come down. Okay, so then you take your knife and you carefully just cut around that mold, like so. Try to keep your knife at the same angle, like don't bend it this way or that way. Keep it at the same angle. Like so. Now, you can already see I messed up, which is fine. This will be my practice one. But when I was cutting, I cut up here. Okay, so I will redo that. Then what you're going to do is you're going to go put this in front of the fan, probably for only like 5 minutes. Okay, so we're going to pause here, put it in front of the fan, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it comes out. All right, so on that last one that I did, it wasn't really wide enough. And so I'm going to show you a trick to get this wider before you put it into the slab roller. So you take your block of clay and you throw it down at an angle, and it's going to stretch it out. So I can flip it, throwing it at an angle, and you can already see it's getting wider. Okay, so you can see how that got wider. So now I'm gonna put it through the slab roller, and it should be long enough and wide enough. Okay, so I let this sit in front of the fan for probably about 10 minutes so it could firm up a little bit. There's really no certain time. It really depends on the weather, how many things are in front of the fan. So you're just gonna have to feel when your clay isn't as wet as it was before. Now I've made some refinements. So this is a brand new one that I made. I made that slab thicker by throwing it on the wedging table. I re-rolled it out. And here's another thing, and we're gonna try this for this project. Before I told you to get your own personal canvas, I'm gonna get rid of that. You know, we're all about refining things, and so this is a great example of refining things. I just want you to roll out the slab on the canvas that's provided so that you don't get those creases, okay? And then have this canvas on the table, kind of like a placemat for you to work on. And then hopefully that will alleviate getting creases. So the other thing that I did is I didn't cut it so close to the mold, because you saw in the last video that I cut it wrong. So you can see I have kind of a lip here. And you could keep that lip there if you wanted to have a lip on your platter. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna carefully flip this over really gently. And I'm holding this up here. I don't want a lip on this. So I'm gonna hold this up and I'm gonna cut it, hopefully, perfectly with the mold. Again, I'm supporting the edges because it's still a little wet. Ideally, it'd be a little drier, but. Now, here's the thing. If you put that in front of the fan and then forget about it and you let it totally dry, what will happen is the clay will start shrinking, but the mold doesn't. And so the clay will just crack off the mold. So it's a fine line of having to get dry enough that it's gonna hold its shape, but not so dry that it's gonna crack off the mold. So we're gonna use these big boards, and hopefully everybody will be at a different stage in the project so that we have enough storage. What I've done here is I've put a paper towel on the big board just so that this doesn't stick to it as it's drying. So I'm gonna take this off. I'm going to very carefully and gently flip it over, and then I'm going to take the mold off like that. And then that's what your platter should look like. Now we're going to try to share these big boards, so please make sure that it's over to the edge so that somebody else could utilize that. What you're going to let happen now is you're going to let it get leather hard, and then you can take a sponge and just clean up the edges so you don't have any sharp edges. You're gonna stamp and sign it, and then you'll be done. And then I'll show you different underglazing or glazing techniques later. All right, have fun. All right, you guys, so here's a close-up of what the platter should look like. After you have it done, you're going to lightly cover it with plastic, put it on your cart until it gets leather hard, and then the next time you should be able to take a damp sponge and wipe these edges so you don't have any sharp edges. All right, there you go.